Hi and welcome to the first video of Python Basics. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Python effectively and what are the relevant basics that you need to know before you kickstarting your project in production optimization, field development, and other related domains. Python can be written in any software you want. Even you can write Python in the simple notebook application. Most of the time, we will start using Python in an environment or in a software called Spider. Spider already comes installed with Anaconda, so you're encouraged to launch Spider. So let me show you how we can launch Spider. By the way, this is what the software looks like. If you go to your start menu and search for SPYDER, and you're going to find a result that's look like this, which says Spider. You will click on it and Spider software will launch. There is an important thing whenever you're prompt to update Spider, please never do update Spider because it's always going to crash and it's always going to create problems for you. So always select no. And Spider is free to use, so you don't have to register, you don't have to hand out your email and whatnot. So it's extremely important to make these things important and you don't share any information with any party. Python code is very simple. It's very easy code. Usually you will type the code on the left hand side wherever you see the numbers. So this is the workspace that you're going to write your code in it. Once you open Spider, you will see a file that contains these types of notes and writings, which says basically created on some particular date and by a particular author. This is not something special. This is just to tell you that this file was created at a certain date and time by someone or by some computer user. We can select by using mouse, so you can select everything and backspace delete it. So we will start with a clean slate. A brief introduction about Spider. Spider is composed in 3 sections. So the left hand side section is where you write the code. The right hand side section is you have the top section and you have the bottom section. The bottom section is where you get the outputs whenever you do some printing. And the top section you have the variable explorer where you will get all the variables captured from Python. You have the plots and you have the file management and you have the help. Before we dive deeper into any code and show you any examples of Python, it's extremely important to understand where does Python come from and how it is going to benefit oil and gas industry. So Python is actually, it's not a modern language. It was created in 1991, so it's kind of modern, but it's not super modern or hyper modern. Python, it's extremely easy language. It has been used for mainly everything. We can see Python being used for web development. Some people use it for software development, like a TechLog. It's based on Python. Some people use it instead of MATLAB for mathematics, so it's a MATLAB replacement and free alternative. Some people use it for system scripting to make the system do things that it's not supposed to do. And 80 to 90% of Python usage and utilization is made in data science. Plus, some people also use Python for engineering design, computation, and fluid dynamics. So that's also a possibility. Python is notorious for being an easy code and an easy language to grasp. Usually, Python code is very minimal as compared to other languages. Feel free to pause the screen to compare the code of Python to C# that's on the right hand side. Usually, Python is written in something known as an IDE, as other programming languages are. An IDE is short for Integrated Development Environment. I am 100% sure that you have already heard of such a thing. An IDE is just a fancy name for a software that allows you to communicate with a programming language and just write some solutions. Luckily, in Python, 90% to 95% of the IDEs are free to use. You don't have to pay anything for them, except on one occasion, which we're going to see now. Most infamous IDEs that we usually use in Python is Spider, Visual Studio Code, which you installed both, and we have PyCharm. PyCharm is the only paid uh, IDE, but there is also a free version of PyCharm. For people who are beginners, PyCharm is not very recommended because it's very feature dense and very feature heavy. One of the most important tools in Python, it's known as a notebook. A notebook is a Python file that has the capability to have multiple inputs and multiple outputs at the same time by dividing the data or by dividing the code into something known as a cell. So it's very different from typical programming where you have multiple cells. Each cell is going to run and you will get the result, and you will get that's why you will get multiple results at the same time. And once you browse this file, it looks like a PDF, so hence it's called notebook. Notebooks are extremely easy to use. They are user friendly, and most importantly, they are extremely good for code prototyping. So if you have a certain idea in your mind, you can easily convert it into solution using notebook. It was introduced in 2014, so you can see notebooks are extremely new technologies. One of the most important assets and most important tools in Python, it's known as the variable explorer. If you are coming from other programming languages background like C++, Java, Basic, and Fortran and older programming languages, you already know that it is not possible to output a result without printing it first. But Python changed everything. Now, once you click run on Python, no matter how many variables you have, Python is going to search for these variables, and a summary of the values and the variable names are going to be listed in something called Variable Explorer. Variable Explorer is basically designed for scientists and engineers to use because usually these types of people usually look for multiple variables at the same time and basically monitor multiple variables. By using the Variable Explorer, which is we are going to extensively see in this video and the other ones, Variable Explorer will allow you to save lots of time on writing print codes just to see the results because no matter what you do, the result is always going to be there for you and it is always going to be updated. One of the important things that we're going to talk about is the basic data types in Python. Python has many data types as other programming languages do. But Python has much more than other languages. Whenever we talk about basic data types, in Python we have certain data types that are extremely important to understand before we even dive deeper into Python. We have something called string. String is a basic text type that's used to give context and explanation to something. Usually strings are used for settings, they are used for well names, field names, and whatnot. Strings cannot be used for mathematical calculations, so you should have that in mind. Next type is we have the numeric type. Numeric types, we have two subcategories. We have the float type, which is the real data, and we have the integers, which are the data that does not have any floating points. So this is the difference between float and integer. Whenever you write your Python code, actually there is no difference between these two variables because Python will detect the type for you. The third type of variables is known as Boolean. This is named after the mathematical scientist Boolean. So this value type is usually either true or false, and it's very good type for comparison, having flags for formations, reservoirs, locations, and whatnot. So this is the Boolean type. It either true or false. There is no other conditions to this. And the last type is known as the none. None is one of the newer types in programming languages. None, it means that it's empty, it does not have anything. Whenever something that is empty, that does not have anything, in programming languages, you're not allowed to leave a variable empty. It's not possible. That's why they invented the none type. None, it means basically it does not have anything. It's a type of its own. Now, once we have basic idea of these variable types, now let's move on to the code and let's explore how we can use these variables in oil and gas settings. Open up Spider for me. And now on the left-hand side, let's start trialing with few codes. Let's create a variable called oil. So we will type oil. Now, whenever we try to assign data to the variable, we will use equal sign and then the variable that we want or the value that we want to assign to. So let's say that we want to assign a value of 2000 to the oil. Now, let me show you what's happening. You have two terms on these expressions. You have the left-hand side and you have the right-hand side. Most of the time, the right-hand side is going to be converted into left-hand side and it's going to be saved in the memory. And this is with the power of this equal sign. Let's create another variable by pressing enter and typing water equals to, let's say, 1500.5 barrels. Now, the first one is a type of integer. The second one is a type of float. And the idea is whenever we defined or created these two variables, we did not tell Python what are the types of the variables that we created. And this is the power of Python. Python will basically tell you what are the types of the variables once they run. So let me show you. Make sure that you're seeing Variable Explorer. So you're clicking on this Variable Explorer and then click on Run. So this is basically the Run button. Once you do this, by the way, there is no calculation that's happening. It's only we're running the file. So click on Run the file. And now you see two variables showing up. You have the oil and you have the water. So oil is assigned to 2000, water is assigned to 1500.5. The most important thing is Python has detected the type of the variables successfully. So you have the integer and you have the float. If we want to create calculations between oil and water, it's extremely simple to do. It's very, very similar to what we have in Excel. So here are the mathematical expressions that you can use. So we have the division, we have the multiplication, we have the dash for subtraction, and we have the plus for addition. So all of these things also do exist in Excel. So there is no need to learn something new. You might be wondering about this hash pound that I've included at the first or at the beginning of the line. So the hash pound that I did or I included, it's basically to tell Python, do not consider this line because this line is just for explanation. We are trying to explain something in this line. So that's why the Python is not going to see it and it's not going to throw an error at us. The hash pound is basically known as a comment line in Python. It's extremely, extremely infamous. Lots and lots of people are using it. It almost exists in every code. And basically they exist in bulk, quantity, and sometimes they just exist solely as a single line. So we have the division, multiplication, subtraction, and addition. So now let's create a term where we basically calculate the liquid volume. So the liquid volume is just addition of oil to water. So let's do liquid equals to oil plus water. So now this is a new variable that's going to be calculated. Once it's calculated, Python is going to capture it and you will see it available in the Variable Explorer. So let's click on Run. There we go. Now this is the liquid also appearing as 35.5. Let's create another variable. Let's create a water cut calculation. So water cut or WC equals to water rate divided by liquid rate, right? So this is going to be water calculation for us for water cut. So if we click on Run, we will see that water cut is 42%. What we can do is we can multiply this fully by 100% or by 100 so to convert this into percentage. So once we click on Run, now you can see water cut now is expressed in terms of percentage. This is the basics of numerics. You can do any types of calculations you want. One more thing that you need to keep in mind, you can also use or you can also lift something to the power of something. For example, To power something up in Python, we will use double asterisk. So let me show you an example. So if we want to do something like oil to the power of 2, something like this, it's going to equivalent to this. Power underscore oil equals to oil double asterisk 2. Now this means oil to the power of 2. You can use any value of power you want. You can use 2, 1.2, 1.5, 0 point something. So it's very flexible. You don't have to use integer all the time. One more time, integers are those values that do not have any points. Floats are the variables that do have some points in it, which is the floating or the decimal point. So let's click on run. There we go. Now this is the power of oil. You can also do something like this, 0.3 or 0.3. Now oil is going to be lifted to the power of 0.3. Let's run this. There we go. Now this is the result.